Hello, Casey. Welcome to the comments for Essay 4. So just a couple of things with the format. Just remember for MLA, it's always your last name and page number in the header itself. And then the title, right? So this would be a good subtitle. And then you bring in your thesis specifically. And then titles are just in regular font. There's no different size or anything like that. You just keep everything in regular font for the title. And then center it too. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. You also want to center. Cool. Good intro. Yeah. Oh, and just remember, so American English, unless you're quoting at the end of the sentence, the punctuation always goes within the quotes. So yeah, so here when you say changing narrative, that's where you would want to be a little bit more specific. Narrative of, because like here, the consequence of human desire, perfect, right? You know. Yeah, so same thing here when you say like there's a clear symbol of good which is rewarded and evil that's easily identified and not rewarded or punished and so forth. So here's where you could just go again a little bit more in depth here. Yeah, and then be careful of the we, right? So here's where like, Ull's idea was to strip away the innocence assumed with fairy tales or associated with fairy tales. So then you're not making too much of an assumption there. So yeah, same thing here, right? So what we want to focus off of is the reader, right? And then here, right, instead the irony allows what is, because it seems like you're kind of bouncing between character and theme. So here's where you could really focus, or well, actually, I should say three things: character, theme, and then like kind of a parody, like genre, kind of I don't want to say like subversion, but like in a way, right? Genre subversion, right? And same thing here. Rather than focusing on the readers, right? We could just focus here, and we have a much stronger argument. Ull is able to challenge the traditional stereotypes to reveal a deeper meaning between appearance and reality that goes within the fairy tale genre. Good. So here's again what I'm seeing though is you're kind of focused on three separate things, right? In terms of topics, you have the character, characterization analysis. You have a theme analysis, but then you also have the kind of focus on parody. So you would want to choose just one of those things, right? And see what one makes more sense, because like here you're thinking a little bit closer to theme, but then since you're connecting it to that genre, it kind of complicates what we call like a bifurcation with the thesis. So as a reader, I'm not sure exactly what argument you're going to make in terms of a single argument. Yes, the same thing. Instead of focusing on us as the reader, you want to refocus on Ull, right? Again, we don't exist within text, right? So you want to stay grounded on that. If you're interviewing readers and so forth, that would be different. But in this case, you just want to stay grounded on the text and refocus on the author. Yeah, like same thing here, right? Of the genre. Yeah, so even with this paragraph, again, it's kind of bouncing between character, parody, and then kind of a couple of different other elements like the title and so forth, right? It's like it's a little bit um kind of multi-topic, and then here's where again you want to single down, because same thing here, it's like the topic sentences so far kind of focus more on the characterization, but then in a moment here, right, you start kind of again veering into the theme. So that's where you could kind of adjust the kind of focal point. And part of it is just staying off of the reader and stay grounded on Ull. But then really deciding, okay, is this going to be about character first? Is it going to be about theme first? Or is it going to be about parody first? That's, I think, the ultimate kind of choice if you're going to do something with this. Now, in terms of citation, remember, you only just need the author's last name, and then page number. And then here, since you mentioned the author in the sentence, you actually don't need to repeat it. So what I would like to do, though, is, and I would like to see a greater connection to this quote, because that's an important argument, and it really fits in with what you are going to discuss and argue about Sir Craig. So now we want to have a stronger connection, right? How does, let's see, Bachialiga, or Bachilega, um, really focus in on your argument, right, based on this, because this quote really fits with what you've been arguing. But again, notice how you're not connecting it. You're going right back to Sir Craig rather than staying grounded on this quote, right, pulling from phrases, connecting it. And just remember, for some reason, your first paragraph is tabbed, but all the paragraphs so far are not tabbed, so just remember to kind of keep that standardization there. And yeah, and again, same thing here. It's like, instead of focusing on the reader, we focus on Ool. Yeah, and so what I would like to see is kind of a connection between these two sentences, join these two sentences to form a stronger argument. But again, what I'm definitely seeing here is more of a character essay, which is great. But again, the first kind of the first paragraph especially, but even the first supporting paragraph, there's a lot of kind of bouncing between a couple of different ideas. So we just want to kind of focus on that. Standard thing, that Tolman model, remember, when you have a paragraph, you hardly ever end on a quote. You always want to have a synthesis, right? End on an analytical idea. And since you name Ool too, you don't need a comma, but then you also don't need her last name. Yes, the same thing here, right? Instead of saying you can see that, here's where you could refocus. Like, so Sir Craig is better understood when looking at his relationships with Boots. Yeah, since Ool, blah 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 blah. Like, now you could discuss like a foil character pairing and all sorts of things, right? And same thing, it's just like, so again, same thing, it's just like avoiding that kind of reader focus, and then adjusting the kind of first person phrases and things like that. Yeah, so same thing here. Yeah, so like here's where, like, I think you could actually, instead of focusing on the kind of commentary of the genre itself, I would focus on, what she's, discussing about men in particular, or because you could, your foundation on tradition would make sense if you just stayed grounded on the theme. But since you're staying grounded on the character, for the most part, it kind of gets a little bit like, this is a little bit rushed, so you'd want to expand that or reconfigure and just stay grounded on, like, what is she talking about, with this type of kind of macho or aloof kind of person. Yeah, so like here, like given how. So here's where you would want to like expand that topic sentence here. Yeah, good. Yeah, but again, same thing. It's just like focusing on the reader when you want to stay grounded on Ool. Yeah. Yeah, because like here with your conclusion, this is where you could really focus in on the theme, right? If you talked about character and how the character is established, and then your larger picture in that conclusion. What I'm actually seeing is this is your real conclusion. This is, yeah, because even to repeat that happy ending, so I like this kind of idea about the story is not always following the rules, which you could incorporate, but this is actually your real conclusion paragraph, right? Rather than this paragraph here. So that's an important aspect here to think about. Oh yeah, so just remember, yeah, so works cited is centered, and then you want to have those hanging indents tabs after that first line. So it looks like this is missing things because it looks like this is a an article, and then here, same thing. Good. And then this looks like a book, so it would be italicized. Yeah. Okay, good. So let's recap. Again, you have a good understanding of the short stories, characterization, theme, and then, of course, the ultimate like genre parody. The main thing is just fine-tuning, especially the beginning, to really focus just on Craig, and then decide throughout what you want to focus on. Like, do you want to focus on the parodic element of the character? Do you want to focus on just the kind of overall meaning of the character? And then, or do you just want to focus on the theme? And it looks like you're focusing on the overall meaning of the character for the most part. So, it's just a slight little adjustment with a couple of key elements, especially topic sends, why, synthesis sends, and all that. Obviously, if you have questions, email. If not, just good luck with the rest of the semester. Have a great summer and take care.